Welcome to the Intercut Podcast, the weekly show going over the TV, movies, and entertainment that people can't cut away from. I am your co-host, Zachary Shevich, and joining me, he's a toy from the 50s, it's Arturo Zurita.
How y'all doing? He's actually from the 50s, right? That's the craziest part.
Mm-hmm. That's the thing that I'm not really sure on the math of, because Andy is definitely from the 90s, so are we to assume Woody was just sitting in the store for 40 years?
Wasn't Buzz?
He's been that popular for that long. He's like a modern Pokemon.
Exactly. He was just like, imagine that one, the one that's just there. Imagine the Pokemon
He's just a
Go.
perennial.
Yeah, the Pokemon Go digital character that never got picked up, and it's just still there waiting for the phone. Yeah, because he does say Andy is my only owner, so I would say he was sitting there for a while, but then he got his loving.
We're also joined by Canada's #1 stunt woman, Amanda Kaboom the Jedi.
Boom, boom.
What up?
How excited! You should have. Oh, she hasn't seen it yet, bro. You know she had the perfect line to say, "Rajon," or whatever the kid's name was. Rajon.
Yeah. So Amanda hasn't caught up with Toy Story 4, so that's not going to end up on her list. But we will see what is on Amanda's, Art's, and my best of the year so far as we count down some of the best things that have been released so far in 2019 on this episode of Intercut. A little bit of like a new tradition, I guess, because we did a best of the year so far last year. So we got Amanda back to join us for this episode again. Gonna talk about what's been noteworthy, what's been memorable thus far in 2019. But overall, before we get into anything specific, is there something that you've noticed about 2019 as a year of entertainment? Any larger trends you're taking away from it? Art, I know you've had a theory that you continue to go back on what 2019 in entertainment is about.
Yeah. Oh, like you want me to say it?
Please.
Just say goodbye to all of your friends. 2019 is the year where everyone just leaves. If your siblings, Game of Thrones said goodbye. Toy Story 4 said, oh, did we end it with 3? No, we want to break your hearts again with 4 to really say goodbye. Broad City, that ended. There's so many other ones, even independent films that I don't want to... Endgame. I'm trying to only say the big ones that I know people have seen. Yeah, but yeah, it really just does everybody just... It's a year of goodbyes. And it's not going to get any better.
Even if we're going beyond what people have seen, we're getting the end of the Star Wars saga later this year. We had Dark Phoenix, which is an ending of sorts. I don't know if it's a good one.
Until they bring out New Mutants. So.
Right, if that ever happens.
If that ever happens.
Disney Plus coming soon.
Amanda, how about you? Has there been anything about 2019 that has struck you overall?
That's definitely one of the trends I just kept noticing, like especially getting into April. It was just everybody was so excited for Game of Thrones, for Avengers. It's just building to these like massive conclusions for storylines. So many different, movies. It's just like he's saying, they're just really building it up. So like it's changing everything and ending everything at the same time. Right. Other than that, there's definitely a trend in like the comedies. I'm noticing, at least in terms of I haven't seen Good Boys yet, but just even comparing like what I've seen with like Booksmart and then Big Time Adolescence, which we caught at Sundance, going into Good Boys, there's definitely like a trend to the comedies I find this year, and I'm here for it. I'm a fan of it, so...
It's good.
Yeah, there's a lot of irreverence out there.
Yeah.
And they all have like the same plot points, which isn't a bad thing because they all literally do, because we saw them together. We're like, those shared very similar qualities.
Yeah.
They're both still good.
Absolutely.
But it is interesting how they're all hitting the same points.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're 12 years removed from Superbad, and this seems to be the year of it's Superbad, but ...
Yeah.
Whether that's Booksmart, or as we said, Good Boys coming out, Big Time Adolescence, which I don't know when that'll be out. We all saw it at Sundance and enjoyed it. So yeah, a lot of movies, a lot of comedies on the horizon. For me, I feel like there's been a lot of really interesting works from directors and different people that aren't necessarily their best, but are notable.
Yes.
We'll definitely get onto some of them this show. I'm not going to bring up Midsummer because I haven't seen it. I know Amanda hasn't seen it.
Nope.
And there are a lot of people out there who are saying it's not as good as Hereditary, but it's really notable. And I feel like we're getting a lot of like interesting, but not necessarily elite.
They're not quite hitting the notes, of what you're really hoping for.
And we were talking a little bit before we started recording about like what's really going to last. What are we going to be talking about like a decade from now? For me, I mean, I don't know beyond Endgame how many movies are really going to hold up, and I don't know if Endgame is even like better than the movie it's paired with, Infinity War.
Yeah. I
So
don't
yeah,
think so.
I think we're still waiting for the best of 2019.
Yeah.
Interesting.
All right, so with that, I think maybe let's kick off our lists. We are going to go down our 5 favorite movies of the year so far.
Let's go.
We're also going to talk about some of our favorite TV shows of the year so far. I don't know if either of you had any non-TV, non-movie things that you wanted to bring up, whether that's game, whether that's music, or we can kick right into TV if that's how you're feeling it. Art, you want to start us off?
Yeah, with TV?
Yeah.
I'm big on TV. I also did have a couple of different things that I also wanted to mention if we were going to do honorable mentions and stuff like that.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think what you were saying was huge when it came to franchises. That you were saying, are these still going to be big? And I think at the end of the year, you end up getting pretty much 3 different lists. The people who saw all the mainstream movies, right? The people who saw the more independent movies, and then you have the people who saw like a mixture of 2, and it becomes this debate of, well, you liked Endgame, you liked Toy Story 4. There's only room for one big blockbuster movie in your thing, right? But I think we've gotten a crazy amount of franchises. I think I have 4 in particular here before we jump into TV, which again, we've almost talked about how this has become movie television. These franchises are movie It's what we've been saying about being able to have these prolonged stories.
They're episodic movies.
Literally. And at the same time, there have been some episodic television mini series that we consider movies. I'm telling you, I'm not saying Intercut 2 years ago I started blending in the 2 together because we foreshadowed it, but we foreshadowed it. Franchises. Shazam. I think this is a movie that may be slipping through a lot of people's radars, but at the end of the year, I'm just saying I feel like Shazam and Spider-Man Far From Homecoming fans are going to be like Alita Captain Marvel fans. I'm just calling it out there. I'm just putting it into the future. But I think Shazam was one of the special ones out there in terms of the emotions it hit, but also how it almost just broke the DC. That was the movie that said, hey, we know Joker's coming out later out this year, but we're just going to tell you right off the bat, who cares about continuity? Let's just do something completely different. That's what we're going to do, okay?
Which I'm fine with when it comes to DC.
Exactly, and
Get
I
away
liked
from
it.
it.
And I'm like, if you guys are just going to make it feel like, I mean, we're aware of each other, but we're going to make our own things. You know,
Yeah,
Spider-Man
don't-
Far From Home
Yeah.
can't do that. It needs to know, and it needs to address things that just happened. And DC's like,
Right.
Yeah.
well, I mean, they want to make this Joker movie. Let them make it. All right, let's go.
Well, because it got to the point, it's like nothing we're doing is working.
So to a sense. Well, it's because
Let's do everything.
Let's do
it's because they
everything.
they released the wrong cuts, so now they just gonna cut everything.
Of course.
For me, the franchises go as follow. John Wick 3, I have at number 3. I think that is a franchise that, if that makes people's ends of the year, yes. That is our best action movie of the year thus far, I want to say. I'm sure it'll get beat out by some smaller, overseas ones, but John Wick 3 definitely. Toy Story 4, I actually have coming in at second, and then Endgame. These are all, I think, solid blockbusters. That more than 2 of these can make your top 10 of the year by the end of it. I think so.
Yeah.
We always give Mad Max a pass. We give the bigger ones a pass, but yeah, John Wick 3 being in someone's top 10, Toy Story 4, Endgame, even Shazam, I see no problem with those.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, all those movies have some level of tourism to them, whether it is the choreography of the action in John Wick or just the brilliance of the Pixar engine and the way they're always able to make these really functional,
best-looking movie, dude.
Great kids movies that also have these profound adult themes working in them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, I don't know if you guys had a TV list. I have my top 4 with my number 1 being in our top 5. But let's go back and forth, Zach. I'll tell you mine right here. One of my first ones, and I'm kind of sad that they got canceled. This was my feel-good show. I almost mentioned it when we were talking about the podcast about if they took something out, what would hurt. Well, this one would hurt because this is an actual Netflix original series. Friends from College Season 1, I've been saying, walked so Season 2 can run. And Season 2 ran because Season 3 was supposed to soar, dude. I love it. I got my brother hooked on it. He binge watched my brother does not do it. He's an accountant who goes home, watches sports. And my brother went there. He binged the entire series in one sitting, both seasons, only to hear, what do you mean they canceled it?
I didn't realize they canceled it.
So disappointed that they canceled it. I'm a big fan of that show. I know you have another show that's very similar to it. I think you treat another HBO series, kind of the way I like treating this show, of just, it's so easily rewatchable. It's like I'm saying the lines with them. It's a show that I found myself kind of like mimicking in like GIF form. Or saying a bunch of lines from.
Totally.
And to me, it's one of the funniest of the year for me. So I have that at number 5, technically, in my shows.
Amanda, do you have a 5th for TV, or should I go to my 5th?
I don't even think I have a top 5 list. I'll just kind of randomly name. I'm going to name one that I don't think, well, at least wasn't mentioned beforehand, but Umbrella Academy.
Hey, talk about it.
I really like Umbrella Academy. I like superhero stuff, as you guys will probably... Oh, yeah, you can tell. I don't know if that's actually in frame, but there's a giant Spider-Man standee behind me. But I'm a big fan of any kind of superhero stuff, and I'm also a really big fan of superhero stuff that is not just your typical Marvel, DC main fanfare. And I really, really like what they did with this. So it's based on a comic book written by Gerard Way.
My Chemical Romance.
Yeah, former lead singer of My Chemical Romance, and the dude's really creative too. So I really like what they've done with it. Glad that they're bringing it back around for another season, and I'm a fan of Ellen Page, so I'll usually watch anything she's in, except that other thing she's in right now. I didn't give that a go.
Yeah.
But no, I really liked Umbrella Academy. So if you're there's a lot of really good superhero shows out right now that aren't related to the big two, and they're a little bit more darker in tone.
It's also really
Yeah.
interesting to be getting Umbrella Academy right now, since, I mean, I don't think it's off base to say that it is very clearly riffing on the idea of X-Men.
Yes.
And with X-Men to be in such disarray as a franchise,
Yeah.
it's kind of good that we have Umbrella Academy.
Yeah, absolutely.
I said it on accident in my Dark Phoenix video. It's the better version of Dark Phoenix. I was like,
Yes.
y'all re-release Dark Phoenix. And I mentioned Brightburn, kind of, but I mentioned Umbrella Academy only with the an image without spoiling what happens in Umbrella Academy.
Yeah.
And I was like, it is literally the better version.
Yes, 200%.
That takes responsibility for what Charles Xavier did.
Exactly. Instead of just casually mentioning it, being like, here's this. It's
a very weird show, but the fan base is strong for it when I made my video for it. And I like it more over time, surprisingly.
Same. The more I watch it and the more I think about it, the more
like
I'm
her
like...
mentioning it right now and connecting it to Dark Phoenix makes me appreciate it more.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And season 2's coming out, so...
Yeah, I mean, that's a show that I think it had its highs and lows, but
sure.
I really like the way that it ended up, so it'll be very interesting to see what it does with season 2.
Yeah.
And like we mentioned, if you're looking for that kind of show, I think it's probably the best in that mold of that type of superhero stuff.
And screw Luther. Hey, Luther.
My number 5 is a show on Hulu. It's Pen 15. I really enjoyed the comedy from Maya Erskine. I'm forgetting the co-creator's name. But it's this really peculiar show produced by The Lonely Island, in which these 2 women in their 30s are acting as their 7th grade selves, and alongside a co-stars that are all age appropriate. They're all 7th graders. So it's this weird thing where you're seeing the drama of middle and high school played out through these adults who clearly should be not worried about whether or not they embarrass themselves in these slight ways. It just reminds me of all the cringe from my own adolescence, especially because it's set in the 90s, so it's all the old scrunchies and
little freaky,
AOL
freaky
instant
geeky. Yeah, it's a little bit like Freaking Geeks, but at 15.
It's got that Freaks and Geeks vibe, but it's a little broader. There is some serious stuff in it, not necessarily like dramatic, but they touch on race and they touch on a lot of really interesting things in the show. It's also just, I mentioned Maya Erskine at the top. She's such a star and really, really just pops off screen in this show. She's kind of been my revelation of 2019 between her role in this, her role in the movie Plus One. She's even funny in the Polar movie Wine Country.
I remember hearing her. The other creator, just to it's Anna Konkle.
Yes, Anna Konkle.
And she's
popped up in a few things this year as well.
Yeah, and they both play the 15-year-old, and both of them are like
15-year-olds.
Yeah, both of them, because they're both the creators and the actresses, along with Sam Zievelman, to make sure I give him a shout out because he's also credited as a creator. But Anna and Maya, like he said, aren't just great in this show. This is like the show you watch for when they become famous. In all the big movies, you're like, yeah, I caught him there first. Yeah, I've known him since Freaks and Geeks. Yeah, I saw him in Bands of Brother. I know. So
yeah, you're going to see
Right
both
on.
of them popping up more and more as their careers progress. But this is a really great spotlight for them. It's one of the funnier shows I've seen all year. 10/15 on Hulu.
dope. I second that. It's pretty funny. I think I have one more episode to watch before I finish it. The other one that I have is the complete opposite. It's Dark. People have been telling me to watch the show for the longest time. Netflix has been telling me, not just on Netflix, they sent something to my home. They said, bro, here's the diary of the guy, and it's written from his perspective, being
geez.
sent from, I was like, this is crazy advertisement. Like, they just sent me this for free with the penny. I was like, I don't even know what any of this means. I sit down, I go... Oh, now that I've seen it, I still don't know what any of this means. I'm going to combine this as well as with my number 3. The next one, number 3. Yeah, so 3 and 4, because I see them interchangeably. Both Netflix shows dealing with a subject that I freaking love so much, and both are purposefully made with 3 seasons in mind. That is Dark, as I mentioned, and Zach? Russian Doll. Yeah, 100%.
Russian Doll.
This is on your guys' list, right? Come on.
Yeah, it's on
please.
my list.
Yeah,
I'm
Russian
actually
Doll.
crossing it off right now.
Okay.
Yeah,
good.
Russian Doll is my number 2, so I guess we can talk a little bit more about it now because that's also a really, really intriguing show. Although I don't want to.
Yeah, I'll wait for it. I'll just mention my line of Dark. Watch it, grab a Twix, and keep notes, baby. Keep notes. The book they sent me comes with pages for notes because they want me to write. They want me to do homework for their show. I'm all for it. I love it.
The sentiment I'm hearing about Dark is like, Dark is my favorite show to watch while I'm keeping track of everything that's happening in the notepad.
Dude, it made the top. Have we even started season 2? It doesn't matter. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt 100%. And if I get it wrong, I'll time travel back in time and change my listing if that's not the case. But Dark, I 100% go. It's German. Watch it with subs if you can. If not, we've seen some episodes with the dubs. Just it's good entertainment. It's good art. Watch it.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I think we can also jump ahead to Russian Doll if you want to. You put it in number 3. I got it on number 2 on my list.
Sure.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
It's very good.
I mean, this is a show that, for me, I just found myself getting more and more into the further it went along, the more that you learn about the ways in which this world is changing and reflecting itself. And it's on the rewatch that I've grown to really, really love what they're doing here. Leslie Headland with the writing and direction, Natasha Leone as the star. It's just a really compelling show that catches you up in this devolving mystery. I don't know how to exactly describe it even, but I was gripped from start to finish with Russian Doll.
That was great. I think a lot of repetitive shows go like, oh, it's going to be annoying for the character, so we're also going to make it annoying for you for 15 minutes. And this show goes there, and right before you ask the question of like, okay, how many more episodes? Here's a new character.
Yeah.
And did you know that something's going on with them? What? Okay, now there's this purpose, and there's like, okay, and then the episode ends, and I've only told this to Zach, but I told him my theory about the finale to 1, and the finale to 2, and the finale to 3, and why specifically there's 3. I'm gonna just leave it at that.
You said this on an Intercut podcast?
I said it to you, I think personally.
Okay.
He's telling inside jokes.
Yeah, we were taking a bath, and I told you this. I had my theory how, again,
I know.
Right?
I just feel like I remember people commenting on it.
Oh, like, was it a spoiler?
No. Like, I think we got comments about it.
In a good or a bad way?
No, people liked your theory.
Good, 100%. I am a co-writer on the show. You don't know the theory? Oh, you're going to have to comment, like, and subscribe if you want to watch.
Yeah,
I'm talking to my girlfriend. Yeah, but it's one thing that I definitely hop on it now.
Yeah.
I would say.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And Natasha Leone may be giving the comedy performance of the year.
She's so fantastic.
I've been waiting for the Irishman for Joe Pesci. I don't care about Joe Pesci no more. We got the better incarnation right here. Like Joe Pesci left, so Natasha can rise and become who she is. So I'm excited for everything else she's in. I've been holding off. Orange is the New Black.
You've never watched it?
I've never watched an episode. Alina's watched it. I've never watched an episode.
Wow.
So
I haven't finished it or kept up with it the last couple seasons, but the first few are like, well, the first one at least is quite good, and she's
really great.
She is.
I mean, I'm not going to get to it because we have Veronica Mars and Psych
Obviously.
and Dark and so many other things, but yeah. It went higher on the list. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Amanda, any more thoughts on Russian Doll?
No, pretty much the same thing you guys already touched on, and that is like a really good point that usually if anybody uses that kind of formula in a show where it's things repeating, it gets so tedious for the viewer too. And
Right.
this really manages to avoid that while still showing us fully her complete
how she feels.
exasperation at the situation and how ridiculous it is. Like, I like it. I like it a lot. It's very good.
They did a really great job of somehow varying things up, even
Yes.
though it stays the same
Yeah.
to an extent. And, you know, mentioning that it's in the form of a show, I don't know how often we've seen that Groundhog Day-esque idea in the form of a show. It usually is movies because there's only so much you can do with
Exactly.
a premise that repeats
They're
itself.
genius.
Russian Doll has figured out how to do it.
Yeah, 100%.
Really like that show. My number 4 is the show that you were alluding to, Art, High Maintenance on HBO.
Dude, talk about it. Go. Do you know about the show,
yeah,
Amanda?
I do.
It's
Have you
a
seen
really, really.
Not yet, but
Okay.
yeah.
I hope you do catch it soon because it's a really great show. It's stars and is co-created and co-written by Ben Sinclair as the guy, a weed delivery man of sorts in New York City who bikes around to his various clients. And the conceit of the show is a little more well known by now. It's the thing is that he's not the star of every episode.
Nope.
A lot of times
Oh,
it's
okay.
just the people that he delivers to, and
Nice.
he just has like a 2-second part where he shows up at the door or something
Yeah.
like
That's
that.
cool.
The way that
It's
the show is
so
able
cool.
to string together its universe is really, really cool. If you're paying attention, the ways that you can see, you know, this guy lives next door to a character we already know, or stuff like
It's
that,
crazy.
ends up being really rewarding to the viewer who's paying attention. Particularly on this season, because after season 2 of the show left the guy divorced and kind of in an emotionally isolated place, this season he's kind of like sought out new connections and he starts dating somebody and you hear things about that person that he's dated
Oh, wow.
through the different layers
That's
of the
cool.
show.
Hey, the plug
I-
has feelings too, you know? All right?
Yeah. I mean, the way that I think there's no show that's more interestingly develops its characters. It's a great. It's that classic idea of show don't tell, but they almost tell through the mouths of other people.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a weird thing. I love High Maintenance. I think it's probably TV's most empathetic show in that it really dives deep into different characters' lives and tries to give you a sense of who they are, why they are, what makes them, what gives them fulfillment.
Nice.
And even though it's got this premise that's so centered around weed, it's not like a weed show. A lot of times the weed is just very tangentially connected to these
Yeah,
characters.
it's just like the catalyst of getting people in places.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I just, it's a show I couldn't recommend more highly, and this is another great season of it.
I see what he did there. Recommend highly. He did it because I have only 2 things to say. It's practically an anthology series almost, but not. Because
Yeah.
you're seeing these different people, and I remember I would have never seen the show if it wasn't for Zach. Like Zach pitched it to me as you gotta check it out. I was watching it's like on the HBO list where you're like, I'm gonna just go rewatch Game of Thrones over here, you know. And he told me watch this, and I fell in love with it. I think I've seen it 3 times. Only because I knock out watching episodes, and we ended up rewatching so many of the same episode 3 times. But like he said, number 2, dude, once it gets legalized on a federal level, this, like he said, empathy, this will be the thing that makes people go, oh, so it's not all Cheech and Chong.
It's
Yeah.
all Cheech and Chong. There you go.
Interesting.
Nice.
Amanda, do you have a number 4?
I pretty much had a top 3 list or a top
Okay.
4,
Okay.
and we knocked out 2, so I'm down to my top 2, really, I guess. And I know
All right,
one of them's
Arts.
arts. One of them's art, so I don't want to take it away from him.
Well, I'm
so
down
we-
to my final one, too. So if she's down to her final one.
Yeah. Okay. Let's.
I'm down to my final 2.
Okay.
So then you guys do your number 2s.
Okay. Well, I'll do. I think my number 2 is technically your number 1, but I'll do Chernobyl.
Ooh, it's actually
Oh.
not.
It's not.
No, I'm going to hit you with a little curveball there, but talk about Chernobyl, though.
Okay. So good. Okay. So I've known, I feel like I've, just because I spent a lot of time on Reddit, and that's where I get my history from a lot of these things. So I knew a lot about, the really messed up stuff that happened at Chernobyl just from, reading different stuff, on Wikipedia and history stuff, and, honestly learning about it in school, too. But seeing it, and I know that it's obviously not going to be completely accurate, and they're going to dramatize things, but it's just seeing it come to life with just an incredible cast of actors is more than like reading you can tell a lot, but just it was so, just even like from the first episode, they just have you completely captivated with just like, you know, the color of the sky and everything happening. So I guess obviously if you guys don't know, Chernobyl is the, you know, the based on reality story of what happened at Chernobyl when the power plant essentially malfunctioned and blew up in large part. And one of the big things about it, and the reason why it got so bad, was because they just kept denying that anything actually happened, and they just let it seep and get worse and worse. And you like, you know, some of it you find out that people only noticed in like other countries because people were setting off radiation stuff going inside buildings by accident. They were like, why are we setting off the radiation stuff coming back in, not going out? And it
makes you want to take iodine pills.
Yeah, exactly. Honestly, it does. It's like it's really, really scary to watch, and to an extent that's almost concerning, because nuclear power for the most part is a really safe and stable way to like get cleaner energy.
Till it's not.
But I think at least from the things that I've been reading is that one of the things that the show does a really good job of illustrating is how it's not always about the thing going wrong, but about the people refusing to
react to it and admit to it. Yeah, that's the first and the last line of the show. It's about lies, which is really interesting. And we were talking about this a little bit earlier, the behind the scenes of how HBO is now getting accused of stealing some stuff for the show. And again, because it is an HBO, you know, this is the year of the miniseries. I've been talking about miniseries for the longest time. This was a director who didn't want to do Game of Thrones. He wanted to make his own thing. So is it 5 episodes?
5.
Part of HBO. Do you have a specific favorite episode? As you think about it, mine is I think 2 because of the ending. Yeah,
because it just has
the lights and the sound. To me, the best part of the show, she mentioned the colors, and it's great. It's like ugly, beautiful. Yeah, but the audio in this,
the sound design just is chilling.
On our previous episode, Art mentioned how that lights moment is similar to a different lights moment at the Battle of Winterfell.
Yeah.
I don't know if you
similar. You mean this?
Similar, but then this is real, and you know this actually happened, and people were just kind of like, it's so beautiful, but they're just standing out there, literally dying by the second without realizing it.
It's crazy.
And then you have the juxtaposition of like everybody just walking around in daylight, everything looks pretty nice, but then like birds are dropping out of the sky, and just the air raid sirens. Like
dandelions. Oh my goodness.
And like the air raid sirens just start going off, and people are just kind of like.
It's worth the watch, and even if you don't like it, it's worth the discussion.
Yes.
That's how I would put it.
I don't think I've found anybody who didn't like it, though.
I've heard some people who have been... Oh, go, Zach. I just heard some people...
I mean, I've been surprised just at how popular it's been, too, because from its face, it doesn't necessarily seem like a
Chernobyl?
But the trailer
like a hit
really
show.
This is what's going to save HBO after Thrones?
Right, but I think that speaks to just how well done it's been. It's gotten such positive word of mouth from people that it's just, you have to check it out.
Yeah.
Sick.
It also has like the accompanying docu-series that goes with it. Like they did their own little documentary.
The podcast thing?
Yeah, like the podcast.
Oh, okay.
Behind
I was
the
telling
scenes.
Zach I was listening to it.
Yes, which is kind of also really similar to, well, not super, but similar to what they ended up doing with Extremely Wicked, where they had like, here's the documentary portion with more real stuff, and then here's the fiction.
The era of streaming. I love it.
Exactly. Honestly,
love it.
If you're going to take creative liberties with like a real story, then you can be like, well, here's the real facts that we can back it up with. Yeah.
How do you not respect that so much? They're giving you the DLC for free. Let's go. I like it.
Exactly.
And I'm
down for it. Did you hear that Russia is apparently now making their own Chernobyl series where they blame the CIA?
That's what I meant when I said that.
Yeah, exactly. Like the CIA.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to like really put it out there. But yeah,
America.
they are making their own version where they're blaming the CIA specifically for it happening in the first place.
That's so funny.
I know.
I'm excited.
Wild.
I will watch that one too in surround sound.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Art, your number 2?
Well, my number 2 is technically my number 1 because my number 1 is in my top 5 of the year, if you know what I'm saying.
Gotcha.
Do you want me to just say both then?
Yeah, go for it.
I'll say both. My number 2, I'm so sad that the other Netflix show beat out this Netflix show, because my number 2, while I love it so much, is Dead to Me. I love Dead to Me so much. I think it's the show I've tweeted about the most.
Oh, that
Second
was a fun show.
to even my first one. But this show is, it's the best acting. I said it, that's the one thing, that's all I'm going to talk about. It is the best acting of the year. I've seen so many movies. I just saw Midsommar. I've seen so many shows. We've been to so many festivals. This show has the best acting of the year from both of these. Like I don't care for the Oscar acting categories. Nothing is going to beat these two's performance. It is the best performances of the year, and I would even argue that one of them should make of the decade.
Linda Cardellini, or the other one?
No, Applegate.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you
They're
know,
both
it's
good.
a really
But I'd put Linda into it too because I
We
like
love
it.
Linda.
It's an extremely bingeable show. It's
Yes.
really hard to put down. The way that they just hook you with those endings and the twists and turns of the plot.
Love
it's
it.
really great. I think the show's kind of like soapy elements are like handled with a reality because
Yes.
those performances are so good. You know, I think you could put much broader, weirder performances in there, and the show might feel ridiculous,
Exactly.
but they ground it in a
Dude.
way. So yeah, I'm that show just missed out on my top 5.
Yeah.
I have number 6.
You've seen it though, right?
Yes,
Amanda, have you seen it?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, we're good. Hey, we're
great.
good. I like this is a good podcast right here. All right.
Yeah.
That's my number 2. You guys?
I have When They See Us at 3. We'll skip,
See-
and then Russian Doll at 2, which we already talked about.
Yeah.
So Amanda, what was your 2?
Well, When They See Us was my number 2, and I knew it was going to be his number 1, so I was like,
Yeah.
I'll talk about Chernobyl instead. So that was.
Oh, so
I think
Chernobyl
that's-
was your number 1.
Yeah, Chernobyl's my
When
number
they
1.
see us. Oh, you
Yeah.
could have ruined my When They See Us.
Oh, sorry.
I'm okay with that. That's fine.
Okay.
We're all
When
just
They
too
See
kind.
Us is number 1.
Fine.
I love this show. That's all I'll say. That's all
Yeah.
I'll say because I'm still in the
No,
midst of
talk about it a
arguing.
little. Talk about it.
It's okay. So I found the best way of explaining it yesterday. Someone tweeted out that the Oscars were going to make a Best Director female and male.
Yeah, I saw
No.
that.
That was a reaction to the Los Angeles online film critics who gave out a Best Male and Best Female Director.
Yeah.
Okay, so to the LA critics, Best Male and Female. So just Ava's winning it every other year. I'll just leave it at that. That's how good this show is. This is her crowning achievement. In my episode 4 is one of the best episodes of the year. If that doesn't win the Emmy, you're an idiot. Like I don't know how else to tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that 4th episode featuring Corey Wise's story is just such. I mean, we talked about this on our last intercut, but that itself felt like a complete movie.
Yeah.
Dude.
It's such a harrowing journey, and you kind of feel every twist and turn in it. You know, you get hope, and then you get let down the way that he does. I was blown away, particularly by that last episode, but the whole series.
Yeah. So what you might not know about me is that I actually, with my university degree, I was actually working for a professor doing wrongful conviction studies. So I had looked into this entire case pretty extensively a few years back, but seeing it brought to screen like this, like, left such an impact, and it's just so gut-wrenching that even when you know everything that's coming, it's still just so heartbreaking to hear it from, like, their mouths in this way, in the way that it was presented to us.
Yeah.
Because
And I think a lot of shows or movies even that deal with legal situations like this sometimes do the mistake of having too much of the drama take place in the courtroom, which is a pretty staid
go for it.
environment.
Thank
We've
you.
all seen courtroom dramas before.
Yeah.
This really gets
The
you.
courtroom
it
is
gives
so
you-
short, really.
Yeah, it's really just like a stop on the way, and it shows you like all the different things that came with that experience, and
Genius.
the jails they had to sit in, and the meetings they had, and the parole hearings. Like I feel like it was a much more compelling way to get the story across.
It was genius the way she split it into 4. And how each one had a part. The first being the incident, the second being like pretty much the court. And then when you think it's like, okay, so we're gonna have another one. The courtroom's got to.
What?
Did we just jump 20 years? Like, what
Yeah.
just happened?
Yeah.
And then episode 4 is like, all right, this is gonna be its own thing, completely separate to kind of the narrative of the others. It's incredible. Every
Yeah.
ending, every
the way-
ending is incredible.
The way that the series is able to jump back and forth throughout time without making it like a okay, now we're in 19 something shows how well put together it is
Yep.
as a series.
Definitely handled it
and
better
how-
than Anna.
Yes.
How fulfilled
Definitely.
do you think? Because to add to what we had said later, the fact that there's the Oprah Winfrey
Documentary.
documentary, the kind of like the talk, that's practically their podcast, all the extra stuff that they're doing, the fact that it's now spawning so many other films and documentaries, or at least carrying the weight of those that they were already being made as well for the people with wrongful convictions, and now people are craving those because of it. You know, we had a serial killer movie, and people were craving serial killers. It's nice to know that Ava's doing it for good things, and now she's opening the doors for other stuff. Yeah. How fulfilled do you think Ava feels that she's so damn talented and is also doing it for a good cause, and then it also is being consumed and watched by millions of people to the point that it's the number one in the streaming platform?
Probably.
Like, you would have to feel good, right?
Yeah.
I don't presume to know what goes on in her head, but I have to assume that she's at least highly gratified that this is a thing that's gained popularity.
Because she
if you're to believe Netflix's numbers, that's a crazy, unbelievable.
Check it on Twitter, dude. Check it on Twitter. You know, it's like, I like that. Netflix want to release theirs. Well, I mean, you can't hide Twitters. You can't hide what everyone else saw about it. It's one of my favorite shows. It's my second favorite of the year in total. Yeah. So that's how much I enjoy it.
Yeah, it's very good.
All right, so I will mention my favorite show of the year, which has been Barry. It was the first season was my favorite when that came out, and this season has been my favorite of the year so far. It's just a really unbelievable show in the way it balances the comedy and the drama, the always escalating stakes that Barry finds himself in, and the way that it analyzes, like, how is Barry a bad person and how bad is he? Yeah. You know, I think the first season was much more of a question, like, is he a bad person? And now it's just kind of going to show you, like, the lengths of his depravity and how much he's willing to hurt others before hurting himself. Yeah. It's just a really, really funny show, and balancing the seriousness of those hitman drama elements with the absolute mundanity of, like, LA actor life, I think it's just brilliant. The show has done a really great job of also expanding to the stuff that its added cast does. NoHo Hank is maybe the funniest character on TV. I thought that Sarah in this season was really, really good. She gets a monologue in the 7th episode, which is like 2 minutes of TV that you can't blink during. It's so, so good. So it's had some of my favorite things on TV this year. It had the best episode of television this year.
Hey, okay.
Lily.
Okay.
The best battle sequence on the night of the Battle of Winterfell went to Ronnie
Here's the
Lilly.
thing, I hate that while he's saying that, I can agree with him, because just like High Maintenance, he also hyped the hell out of Barry, and it delivered.
Barry delivers.
Like, all right, but like, maybe I should watch something else. He just said, hey, so you told me you just finished Atlanta. I'm like, yeah. Hero. He said Hero directed a couple episodes. I said, screw you, dude. I'm busy. Like, now I got to stop everything I'm doing for this.
And Hiro Murai directed 2 episodes this season also.
Is season 2 better than 1?
No. I thought season 1 was a perfect season of television.
It is.
I thought season 2 has moments that live up to season 1. I didn't find the ending to be quite so... I could have walked away from Barry, as we've mentioned, after the ending of season 1.
Yeah, I agree.
Season 2 leaves things in a more cliffhangery fashion where I need them to explore a little bit more.
Okay, interesting. All right.
Amanda, you also liked it?
I did, yeah. Yeah, it was a little bit of a breath of fresh air after some of those Game of Thrones episodes. A little cool down from yelling at the television.
So that's the best TV of the year so far. Let us know what you thought is the best TV in the comments down below, or by shooting us an email, intercutpod@gmail.com. You can also reach out to us on social media at intercutpod. That's at intercutpod. POD is short for podcast. But we went a bit longer than I think we expected to. A lot of great TV to talk about, and there's a lot of great movies to talk about too, which we will get into in another edition of Intercut Part 2. We'll bring back Amanda, so make sure you stay tuned to the Intercut YouTube channel. Thank you so much, Amanda, for joining us.
Thanks for having me, as always. I love being
here. And make sure you catch more of Intercut at social media, like I mentioned. Subscribing to the audio podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, or your favorite podcatcher. I like Overcast, and on YouTube at youtube.com/intercutpod. Art, anything you want to say at the end?
That you can find Amanda the Jedi living in Iceland, Canada.
Wow,
I believe is how far she's up at. I mean, you guys know where to find me. Definitely go check out Amanda's stuff. We also did, in case you missed it, in case you're like new to the Intercut podcast, she wasn't just only in last year's Midway Best of the Year, but she was also in our Sundance Best of the Year, which if if you want to get a heads up on the best of the year halfway through, go watch the Sundance one, because I feel a lot of picks, at least for me, are ending up there.
Yeah.
So definitely go check out that stuff, and go check out her channel at
Amanda the Jedi. Everything, everywheres is Amanda the Jedi.
boom.
All right, so that's all for us, and until next time, I don't have a quote for the end right now.